Here is an intricate narrative of a girl who crossed paths with a boy, and their hearts entwined, spinning a tale of love, romance, and passion. But an unexpected force materializes: the mother-in-law, wielding formidable power and influence. The short of the story is shattered harmony, strife, and discord. This story, the long and short of it, is my story in a nutshell. Thanks for tuning in. Every day I stand between the two most powerful emotions of the universe: love and hate. This is a common feeling I share with most daughters-in-law, and this is the phrase we'd most likely use to describe our world, our 2+1 arrangement of wife plus husband plus mother-in-law. In this relationship of three, where the mother protects the son and the son protects the mother, who protects the daughter-in-law from the narcissistic mother-in-law and the dithering husband? My husband, who has vowed to be by my side, through thick and thin and for better or for worse, has abandoned his post to continue vigilantly as mommy's little boy. Where is the man I married? Is a question I'd often ask myself over the course of several years. I know the answer, of course. It had revealed itself the first time I met Maeve, my soon-to-be mother-in-law. She had managed to emasculate Kent before my very eyes, with one clipped sentence. "Your father and I sent you to Australia to study, not for this." This, she eyed up and down before exhaling in disgust. It was then I knew I should have left his behind and went on my merry way. But stupidly, I loved him. That's the day I chose hell, and now I teeter vicariously between love and hate, heaven and hell, and quite possibly doomed to the afterlife as an Onryo, if Maeve has her way. The Onryo is the vengeful spirit of someone who has died a wrongful death, or who is wronged in life, or died with unresolved anger, and therefore spends the afterlife focused on revenge. In traditional Japanese culture, Onryos were believed to have haunted the living by wreaking havoc on villages. It's believed that if we resolve our issues for harmony's sake, also known as wa, then we can avoid having the heart of the Onryo. My Irish mother-in-law, Maeve, the master manipulator whose narcissism knows no bounds, seems bent on sending me to hell. My husband is Kent, an irresolute idiot, whose balls have shrunk under his mother's stranglehold. My idyllic romance with Kent has long given way to dissonance and discord, and amidst this fraught relationship, I struggle to free my soul from hell. But despite my best efforts, polite smiles, and well-mannered demeanor in this 2+1 affair, I fear I already carry the heart of the Onryo within me. I wrote a poem about how I felt. Am I doomed to see it through the end? The heart of the Onryo. In the realm where Mokoteki resides, mothers-in-law's power dwell. Here purpose shrivels and dies, and love and romance give way to the gates of hell. There the Onryo is created, and purpose shifts to exact revenge. A woman scorned and wronged, ready to leverage her soul to avenge. Woe to those in her path as she wields her fiery sword. There is no end to her wrath for those she once adored. Love's tender embrace shatters, and the Onryo's anger must be satiated. An end to the pain is all that matters, so there's nothing left to be debated. He looked at me in disbelief. "Mo," he croaked. The way he said my name was like a knife wound in my heart, and I winced at the deep-seated pain. "Mo," he said again, his eyes beseeching. "Mo." I closed my eyes against the look that tugged at my heartstrings and lifted the sword above my head. "Mo!" I opened my eyes again. Looking beyond him, I caught my reflection, in the mirror, by the phone. I never understood the need for Westerners to have a phone in the kitchen. What was the purpose of it? I stared, not recognizing myself. There was a look of haunted defiance. "Mo," Kent said again, his voice breaking. I slowly lowered the sword but kept a tight grasp on it. Was this really me? How did I get here? Let me start at the beginning. Chapter 1. Kent and I met, half naked, arguing over a bed and the rooming rights to a bedroom. I visited my parents in Japan for the Christmas break and returned to Australia at the end of January 2018. The cab pulled away from the curb, leaving me to fumble in the dark for keys to my rented two-bedroom flat in Melbourne. I peered into the darkness. If only I could find the keyhole before my knees give way to exhaustion. Although it wasn't a long flight, all I wanted was to crawl into bed. The keys fell and I grunted loudly in frustration at the shadows. Pushing the suitcase out of the way, I bent to retrieve the keys and unlock the door with a sigh of relief. Then, putting the night latch on and leaving my luggage in the hallway, I finally made my way to my bedroom, the first room on the left. Not bothering to turn on the light, I undressed quickly. It was so good to be back in my flat. The landlord had mentioned that she had rented out the second bedroom, but the tenant wasn't due to arrive until later in the week. Wearily, I yanked the buttons of my cardigan and pulled it from my body, dropping it on the floor by the bedroom door. Not intending to rummage through the hefty suitcase for my pajamas, I unzipped my jeans and impatiently yanked the offensive clothing to be free of it. I left it in a pile on the floor. Half asleep and standing wearily in the middle of the room, I could only make out the shadow of the bed. Even though my eyes adjusted to the dark and the silhouette of the bed was barely visible, it beckoned, and I moved toward it obediently. I pulled the t-shirt over my head, and it fell to the floor in a heap. I'd just sleep in my underwear and bra. I tugged the sheets and climbed into the bed. The mattress sunk slightly under my weight, and I sighed contentedly when my head hit the soft down pillows. Hauling the cool cotton sheets up to my ear, I burrowed happily between them. Smiling smugly, the thought of sleep made me happy. I wriggled my body even deeper between the folds of the heavy sheets, and my eyes finally fluttered shut. I embraced the sense of peace and was about to succumb to it when I heard it, a deep growl. A man's voice beside me. "What the?" it said, but my body reacted slowly from fatigue. Instead, the man alighted from the bed with such speed that he dragged the bedsheets with him, suddenly leaving me exposed. I screamed as he switched on the lamp sang on the night table. I had just managed to sit up in the bed amidst the glaring light. I screamed again at the half-naked man standing in front of me in just his underwear. Then screamed even louder when I realized I was kneeling in the middle of the bed in my red lace undies. He stood, mouth agape, and I quickly grabbed the sheets that were now dangling onto the floor. I hauled them up to my neck, suddenly afraid. "Get out of my room!" he yelled, finally finding his voice. I was already scrambling from the bed with the sheets wrapped around me. "Your room," I retorted. "This is my bedroom. I rented this house." "So did I," he retorted. Anger crept up my spine. "Who are you and what are you doing in my bed?" he snarled. "I am the one who should be asking that question," I snapped. "I'm the person renting this apartment and this room." He squinted at me, as if suspicious of my claims. "This has been my bedroom for the last year." "Oh yeah, so where are your things?" he asked, looking around. I followed his gaze. He had already taken possession of the chest of drawers, and his toiletries were already sprawled on top of it. He prowled around to the other side of the bed. "Don't you dare! Come one step closer!" I ordered, and when he kept advancing, I screamed again, this time as if my life depended on it. "Why?" he started to say. Looking down, he finally realized he was wearing only his underwear. He scrambled to grab his pants from the chair, jumping into them as quickly as he could. "So, you're not a squatter?" he asked. I shot him a defiant glare. "Of course not. Okay. He belted his pants and slipped into a shirt which was hanging on the back of the chair, all the while watching me, as if he expected me to jump him. I wrapped the sheets tighter around my body. He gritted his teeth at the action. "Look, I'm going to the next room," he said. But you have to give me some time to get my things from the drawers and the closet. I made a sarcastic noise in my throat and awkwardly bent to retrieve my clothes from the bedroom floor. I stepped around him and made my way to the bathroom, slamming the door. There, I fumbled nervously with my clothes. My fingers shook as I zipped my jeans. Now what? Was it too late to call the landlord? But the phone was still in my handbag in the hallway with the rest of my luggage. Great. I had left my bag unattended with a stranger. I opened the bathroom door. The bedroom was empty, but the drawers were opened, and so was the closet door. Breathing a sigh of relief, I went to retrieve my luggage. My heart gave a sudden jolt in shock, and I let out a yelp when he appeared behind me, his bulky frame casting a looming shadow. "Great!" he said in mock excitement. "You're finally dressed!" His eyes took me in one sweeping glance, and I straightened my shoulders and stood taller, determined not to be intimidated by him. He held up the cardigan I had dropped by the bedroom door. I swiped it angrily from his hand. Look, look. I think we got off on the wrong foot," he said, then added smugly, "or more like the wrong side of the bed." I ignored his comment. He continued, "Let me introduce myself. I'm Kent O'Leary." I slanted my eyes and looked at him warily. "Can I see some ID?" I asked. He laughed. "Are you for real?" Remaining stoic, I repeated my request. He shrugged, then produced his wallet from the pant pocket. True enough, Kent O'Leary was a student registered at Melbourne University. He squinted at me but said nothing. I took my cardigan into the bedroom and locked the door from the inside. And several minutes later, I was almost asleep when I realized I hadn't told him my name. Names have been changed to protect the individuals within the story. Long tail, short story. The long and short of it, any resemblance to other people and actual names in real life is purely coincidental. Please note also that the story, long tail, short story, the long and short of it, is a dramatic and editorial mix of fiction and nonfiction. Thanks for tuning in. Don't forget to subscribe to receive notifications of new episodes.